everyone, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp with some One Layer Wonder flower cards. Using the Simon Says Stamp September 2023 card kit called Be Happy. Today we're going to be using the 6x8 stamp set included in the kit, the Retro Flowers 6x6 layering stencils, the CZ Design Scripty Hello Die, the black glossy cardstock, and the white cardstock included in the kit, as well as some of my favorite Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively saturated inks. To start, I have my Simon Says Stamp glass mat with the corner ink holder tool, and I am going to be inking the first stencil in that Retro Flowers 6x6 set with some Sunbeam and Citrine ink. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes, and first I lay down some Sunbeam ink, and then I'm blending in the Citrine ink kind of just up there towards where the center of each flower is. Now, before I got started, I trimmed that white cardstock into 4 4¼ by 5½ inch panels. Because I'm going to be creating 4 cards, this works so great. I love doing this. One of my favorite things is a 1-layer card that has tons of layers on it, and that's what we're doing today. So first we have to get our background stenciling done, and then we're going to layer on top with a fun stamped and colored bumblebee, some stamped sentiments, a die cut greeting, and then a few additional things like some spray with a mica stain, some glossy accents, and things like that. All little things that you can do to dress up a design. Now, even though I'm calling these 1-layer wonders, there is a tiny bit of layering with a separate die cut greeting with the Hello, Scripty Hello that's included in the kit. And then I am going to add a little black heart accent, which I'll show you in a little bit. But these cards are going to remain fairly flat and very easy to mail, which is such a bonus. I don't know about you, but I love a card that has tons of dimension, but still easy to mail. Once we have all of our first layer, we are going to work on the second stencil. Looks like I have one more left here. I love to do them all at once as it doesn't take that much time at all. If you haven't tried mass producing a design, I highly recommend it, especially if you need something like a bunch of thank you cards, or maybe you're making all your birthday cards for the month or things like that. You could even try switching out the colors for each stencil and changing them out and creating a whole rainbow assortment of designs. I think that would be fun as well. Next up, we have Limelicious in Perfection, and I am simply going to take my green blending brush, and we're going to start with Limelicious and then blend in a little bit of Perfection ink to darken certain areas. As always with dye ink, it's going to go on and it may look a little blotchy in areas, but rest assured that it's going to absorb into the cardstock a bit, smooth out, and you're going to be left with beautiful results every time. These stencils are very easy to line up. There is a 4¼ by 5½ inch grid on each stencil, and it lines up with your background. So that makes it easy to have perfect placement every single time. And that's what I am using as I am stenciling. I just line it up with my cardstock layer and then go ahead and start ink blending. If you want, you can always use a tool, a sticky mat, to hold your stencils down. This one I found pretty easy to just hold in place, so that's what I did. But definitely use whatever method you prefer. Now, something else I want to mention, if you only want to do these large flowers, you can use stencils 1 and 2 and not use stencils 3, and well, yes, you'd have to use stencils 4, pardon me. If you want to just do the large stencil, you're going to need to use 1, 2, and 4, or the large flower, 1, 2, and 4, and then the small flowers use stencils 3 and 4. And I think that would be fun as well if you want to concentrate more on just the large flowers and you want to leave that other space open to do something else with. Maybe you want to ink blend around the edges or stamp over the whole background with a text or some other kind of background element. All kinds of different things you can do there if you don't want to add those small flowers. Moving on to stencil 3, this has the small flower clusters in the upper right and lower left corners, also kind of down there in the center, actually all along the bottom, filling in all of that extra little space. What I decided to do was just take some Sunbeam ink or whatever ink was left on my blending brush. I'm going to tap off some of that, and I'm using a really light hand to just go in and ink those flowers. And again, we're going to do this on all 4 stencils, and I'm not going to use citrine for these. I want them to almost fade into the background a little bit. I love how they look, but I don't want them to be quite as prominent as the large flowers. Then for the 4th stencil, we'll use Woodsy ink for the centers, and then I'm going to use citrine ink for these centers for the small flowers. And again, that was a choice so that they don't stand out as much. If I had used the Woodsy ink for the flower centers, they would have stood out and been a little more prominent. This way, they fade into the background a bit. We're going to do that for the remaining 3 panels, and then we can start adding the rest of the fun elements. Once you've added all of your stenciling, you really can be almost done. All you have to do is add a sentiment, and that's it. Other ideas are you can trim down your background and mat it on another piece of cardstock. You could die cut a thin border and do a little inlay technique. There are so many different ways to use these stenciled backgrounds once you have it down in place. So much fun, and like I said, I think it would be really fun to see a whole rainbow assortment of these retro flower cards. Once I have mine done, I am going to grab my splatter box, and we are going to be using a Distress Mica stain to add a layer of kind of glitz and glimmer and a little bit of imperfection to the background. Look how pretty these look all in a row. I just love them. And this is where I was saying that if you like to do maybe a set of thank you cards to give as a gift, this is perfect. So I am going to kind of check this out. I like to kind of prep ahead of time, so I wanted to show this. I've got my Scripty Hello from the September kit. And I will also be using greetings from that Be Happy 6x8 clear stamp set included in the kit. The clear plastic box is going to protect my work surface, plus be super easy to clean up. I've made sure to shake up the Distress Mica stain in the color Flickering Candle really well. You want to make sure that you aren't seeing any of those mica flakes in the bottom of your shaker before you start spraying it. And then I'm going to set those aside to completely air dry. It really won't take very long. You'll notice that I only pressed down the sprayer a tiny little bit so that I would get a fine mist and some bigger droplets here and there. I don't want to completely cover the surface, but more just add to the overall look of the design. I've die cut one of the Hello dies from the glossy black cardstock, and now I'm simply stamping greetings from that Be Happy stamp set. 2 of the cards will feature the Sending Sunshine sentiment, and all of them could feature this. However, I thought it would be fun to mix it up and do a couple of greetings. I have the smaller of the 2 bees from the stamp set pulled as well. We will stamp that here in just a second. For the black text, I am stamping my greetings with the VersaFine ONYX black ink. I love how it stands out against the beautiful background of each card. So far, we have our layering stencils, our splatter, and now our text stamping. The second greeting I used for the remaining 2 cards is In a World of Roses, Be a Sunflower. I love this greeting. And then the hello will work with both of these smaller sentiments, which I really love. I love a bold die cut greeting, either in more of a typewriter font or a script font paired with a smaller sentiment. It's one of my favorite looks. Once we have this, I am going to take the bumblebee and we're going to position it where I want it to go on the background. We're stamping this directly on the background as well. So this is our fourth layer. Once we've figured out where the bumblebee is going to go, we're going to stamp this with an ink that is alcohol ink friendly. In this case, I'm using some intense black ink from Hero Arts. Then we're going to color it in with alcohol ink markers. I chose to use Olo markers, but you could use any of your favorite alcohol ink markers to do this. Really super simple coloring. I love mass producing, where you just ink it up, stamp, and move on to the next panel. Now I'm going to use my Olo markers to color in my bumblebee. I've got some warm grays, yellow, and a couple of aquas to use for the wings to make them iridescent. I find that you can color over an inked background perfectly, especially something that doesn't require tons of color. So I went in with my dark gray marker first, and I added a little color to the head as well as the stripes on the bumblebee. Then I'm going to add my lighter gray to blend out the head of the bumblebee, my yellow stripes for the body, and finally we're going to finish with a couple of aqua colors, and we're going to feather in the dark coming from the base of the body of the bee first. I love how this beautiful aqua color looks against the yellow. And you can kind of see through it. I like that as well. Once we have that, we are going to color the remaining 4 bumblebees. I did apply some glitter crystal lacquer from Hero Arts over the wings, so when they dry, they're going to be a sparkly, iridescent color. You'll still see through them, but they'll have that little touch of glitter in them, which is super fun. So that is our 5th layer with that glittery product over the wings. And now I'm mass producing my coloring, where I'm going and doing each of my bees. So I did all of the dark, we're going to do all of the light, and then we'll do the yellow stripes and the aqua wings. I went ahead and colored in the remaining bees, and then I added the glitter crystal lacquer on top. Next, I want to add a little black heart underneath each of my greetings. This and our die cut sentiment are the 2-dimensional elements that I did add to these 1-layer cards. So they're not true 1 layer, since I did add a couple of dimensional products, but they don't stand up very high. So I still kind of consider these 1-layer cards. We're going to take these little black Trinity heart accents and place one underneath the stamped sentiment. And I love how it just kind of puts that punctuation mark or exclamation mark, I guess, at the end of each. These are the Black Licorice Trinity Stamps clay hearts. After using the glitter crystal lacquer, I decided that I thought the center of the flowers needed to be glossy as well, but I didn't want them to be glittery. I'm going to use glossy accents. You could use any of your favorite product. You maybe like to use Nouveau Crystal Drops, or even the crystal lacquer pen that doesn't have glitter in it. Even though this goes on milky, once dry, these are going to be completely clear and shiny, showing the beautiful woodsy ink underneath, and now it'll just be glossy. Once I have all my glossy accents, it's time to finish the card by adding our black die cut Scripty Hello. This is the perfect finishing touch to our sentiment and finishes off each design beautifully. I like to hold my die cut with a pair of tweezers while I put the glue on the back and then carefully place it down on my card where I want it to go. If you want it to stand out even more, you could put additional die cut layers underneath or use the shadow die that comes with this set, and you could mount it on that before placing it on the background. I didn't want to cover up the beautiful stenciling, so I chose to just use the script Hello for my card. The final step is placing each of these beautiful backgrounds on a top fold card base. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this set of 4 one-layer wonder cards featuring the Simon Says stamp September 2023 card kit called Be Happy. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.